Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This is a vital piece of legislation, and indeed it is symbolic. This is a drawing of a new era for the United Kingdom and our agriculture industry outside of the European Union, with the ability to shape our own policy on food production, on standards, on environment and on animal welfare. It is a test, therefore, of what our standards will be, what value we place on our farming and agri-food sector, and how it can prosper, while at the same time ensuring our environment is protected for future generations. Madam Deputy Speaker, throughout the passage of this bill, the focus has rightly been around standards, and I make no apologies of bringing my remarks to standards again today. I welcome the Amendment 16 from the other place. If added to the bill, it would provide the legislative assurances needed for consumers, farmers, processors and retailers that this government is committed to protecting the standards that we all value, that we all enjoy, and that we all actually want to see protected, not eroded. I will give way.
Thank my honourable friend and colleague for giving way. And does my honourable friend and member agree that it's very important that steps to ensure the food imported into the UK under future trade deals is produced to the equivalent standards that we have been producing in Northern Ireland for the last number of years, and it's so important to retain and build upon the qualities that we in Northern Ireland and across the whole of the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Northern Ireland have done over the last few years.
I thank the member and I agree wholeheartedly. I did say at the last stage, to flood our market with cheap imports and cheap produce, it will have a disastrous impact on our farmers, and we can't claim to back British farming one day and not protect our farmers in law the next. I'm conscious that the government, since the bill was last before this House, has made many verbal commitments on this issue. So why not put it into legislation? What is the justification for saying something outside of this House that you will not enable through legislation within this House? Madam Deputy Speaker, we as members of this House have a duty to act in the best interest of our constituents at all times. To do this, we must ensure the food that our constituents eat, from the youngest to the oldest, is of the highest standard, and that our agricultural industry, the cornerstone of our society, is protected in law. It is extremely disappointing that Amendment 18 was ruled out of scope. My colleagues and I would have supported it on the basis that it would have allowed this House to scrutinise trade bills, their impact and the standards being allowed to within our with our new trading partners. This House should be accountable for every imported food product into the UK. Farmers in Northern Ireland, with a farming model largely based on family farms, where the work is hard and the margins are by no means guaranteed, look at the government's reticence in legislating on standards with suspicion, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I would share such suspicion. A government that demands the highest of standards at considerable cost, financially, socially and mentally, of its own farmers, but refuses to make it law that imports will have those same demands, is just bizarre. I urge the government to think again, and while we need this bill to allow our local department to administer direct payments from 2021, and as such we will be supporting the overall bill, but we do it in protest and out of necessity for our farmers to receive this much needed financial support. Madam Deputy Speaker, in closing, let me also touch on the amendments and indeed provision in the bill relating to environmental standards. Madam Deputy Speaker, the farmers I represent and those I speak to regularly are wholly committed to the highest environmental standards, standards that will far exceed those in many countries the government will seek to do trade deals with. But in return for a focus on sustainable agriculture, they need government to recognise that they cannot do it alone. They need government to support them, and thus far support has fallen far short. That must be addressed. Madam Deputy Speaker, this House has a choice today. I will be standing up for British farming and its world-class standards, and I hope that others join me too.